Hey guys, welcome back to the Geography Academy. Remember, this video is just a small part of a much larger course that's available below if you just follow the links and instructions. So with regenerating places then, we're just coming on to the case studies now. In these case studies, we'll have a look and apply some of the theory above. So we can see here Comuna 13 in Medellin in Colombia. This was once the murder capital of the world, the highest rates of homicides, and this was leading to one of the most dangerous neighborhoods in the world as well. This was because there was a lot of connection between the people living in these areas, gang violence because of drug cartels. So large amounts of area with people who had moved into the city as rural to urban migrants were then quite poor and relied on money from drug cartels and the production and shipping of cocaine from Colombia. Now, this was at its maximum height during the 90s and early 2000s, and there were paramilitary groups that were taking control of these regions. Because of that, then they had inter kind of community gang related violence, and each kind of hill in this region would have had its own kind of cartel gang that may have fought against each other and caused the high rates of death in the area. Now, because of that, this needed, when it did end, it was quite a violent occupation then because the police had to come in. It had to be an international effort as well to reduce the drug lords from the area and to stop the spread of cocaine through these regions in the city. So this was a big transition to go through, and we have to think about the idea of already the reputation of the place and people to be quite afraid of it, high violence rate then as well. Very difficult for people in this neighborhood then to get away from that idea of drug lords and the gangs that were in the area too, and to seek other types of employment and opportunities with having being given very little opportunity to this point. So this changed, and then there was this huge international, national, and community-led regeneration of the area, which created it into a vibrant culture and economic hub that it is today. This is definitely a case study of a success when everybody was working together to try and make the most out of this situation. Now, the international influence came from investment and aid. We saw USA Aid, for example, coming in and giving social projects into the region and funding through NGOs. This is quite a powerful opportunity then. NGOs can come into neighborhoods like this and work with community led projects to try and give them what they need the best to become more self sufficient. That is the main goal of this type of aid. Tourism growth, for example, then was a main factor. In order to do that, they had to create a very safe environment. They had to have a very controlled area. The community had to be involved with it. Infrastructure had to be built, and they had to be willing to accept that this would change things in their neighborhood as well. The publicity then needed to change, so now we needed new social media, like an influx of people who are going to be able to try this and to spread the word along. So things like the older Lonely Planet books, for example, would then feature this area as an area to go visit and explain how to do it. So this would encourage more people to try it. Locals then were involved in this, and they realized that this was a great way forward and a great project to be involved with in order to actually make income from just being a resident and having a lived experience of the area to be able to accurately represent it to people. We saw the national influence then and the city and local influence in terms of the metro metropolitan sort of help that was given, not so much the community. This was big investment into the area. So cable car system that's able to connect to the city. This means that people were able to come out to the area, such as tourists, and able to enjoy the area safely. So the transportation network then connected up this region that is kind of on the outskirts of the city. And this meant that for those people living in the community, then they were able to access the city as well and to be able to go and try different jobs and careers and make money in different ways. The security escalators then built in 2011. This is to replace the steep unsafe stairway, and this made it easier for residents then of different mobility and age to be able to reach different parts easier, but it also allowed then tourists to come in and have easy access then to some of the key areas that people were trying to develop. This meant that also the people are able to move now out of there. They're able to take public transport into the city. Jobs, education, and services now become easier to access. So security operations then, there was a huge military intervention and quite a violent occupation in the area. And then police came in to lead community relationships and to build back trust and enable then for them to move forward with the development projects in a safe way that could involve more international and national organizations. So a lot of NGOs won't go into these territories if they're still considered to be very violent. Education and entrepreneurship is a fundamental part of this whole process. The schools then and the community centres were built to do a couple of things. One was to offer adult education so that so many people could get vocational training that allowed them then to do a variety of jobs and not to rely on the drugs in the area. So this is a great example of where the community's needs were seen and expressed, and people were able to help with a mix of the international, national, and local communities being a part of that. So these government funded schools then were then able to offer alternatives rather than just trying to stop one industry but not offer alternatives. And this is the key to it. You have to provide solutions if you're going to reduce the problems that are surrounding the area. In part of this as well, what they decided to do was to build actually quite large schools, and this would include then multiple neighborhoods. So some children would have to travel further to school than they would have had beforehand. But the concept is that you can put more resources and specialists into a school system. You can provide better equipment, better resources for then more people all at once. And most importantly, it means that you grow up with people who are from different areas that may have been considered like a different territory or gang back in the time or back in the day, but now it's become that you grow up with them, you know them, you don't see yourself as being so different, or your community doesn't isolate from your neighbors and therefore doesn't see as much violence. So this creates more of a larger community then in the school area to reduce the chances of gang violence starting up again. The community influence has been huge in the area. Like all of this has to happen because the community allows it to happen. So in this case, we've seen the murals and the graffiti playing a big role here. A lot of local artists then are paid and they put up graffiti. They'll clean this wall here, for example, and they'll put up new graffiti art up there. And it's a mix of things between their personal connections to develop some sort of art, but often there's cultural significance to it that is connected to their area as well. So this creates tourism as well of the graffiti tour in Medellin, where you can go around to the different places and hear some different stories from locals, and then you can go up to the main terrace area. And this brings you up to the places like the community-led businesses, cafes, street food vendors, music collective, and they also